Well, Mr. Esfandiari, please tell us what happened.
It was the year 2005. Because our village is at the foot of the mountain, it rains and snows a lot. It was night. It was late at night. It was around midnight. I was about to go lock the yard gate. As the snow was falling, I didn't want to get snow on me or get wet. I had put on a pair of slippers and rushed out to lock the gate and come back. As I was hurrying along,
How old were you?
I think I was about 17 years old. I hurried to close the door so I wouldn't get wet in the snow. I was cold. I was running the whole way, just running like that. Right there, both my feet slipped. I fell. My whole back and head hit the ground.
Here?
Right here. I mean, as soon as I hit the ground, my father, who had passed, and two others appeared. Those two people wouldn't come into the yard. My father immediately picked me up. I felt his hands too. He put them behind my head. I saw that my father immediately came to my side. My father had passed away in 2000. My father came to my side. He said he was very upset, put his hands under my head, and he was really sad, and he picked me up. He picked me up, and I felt my body had become very light, even though my physical body was still lying on the ground.
His hand under your head.
He put his hand under my head.
You felt it.
Yes, I felt it. I completely felt what it's like when a child falls down, and as soon as their father comes and picks them up, what kind of feeling they get. He comforted me. He puts his hand behind my head being worried. Exactly like that. Then, as soon as we got up, we found ourselves right at the cemetery in Absard.
Together with father.
Yes, with my father. As soon as I got up, we appeared here. Here, right next to this tree. I appeared right next to this tree. Now, let me come a little closer so I can show you. Exactly right here.
Here?
I appeared right here. When I looked at the cemetery from here, all the men were standing. They were standing there with their own faces, even the deceased ones that I knew, like my grandfather, my paternal grandfather, who passed away in 1961. Even him, I recognized because my father introduced him. Then, among these people, some had very pleasant appearances. Their clothes looked really beautiful. They were in very good physical condition. They were calm people. If you looked at their build, their faces, their bodies, and their shirts, they were in perfect shape. In perfect shape. Then, some of them had ordinary appearances. Among these people, there were some who really caught my attention. They were burning. They were standing there, completely black from head to toe. Only the whiteness of their teeth and the whites of their eyes were visible, and they were writhing in pain, looking at me. While they kept looking at me like that.
Were all three of these groups from your village?
Yes. They were standing in this cemetery. Among them, there were also people who were wearing nice clothes. There were people wearing ordinary clothes, and there were some among them who were completely unrecognizable.
Which ones were unrecognizable?
The ones who were burning. The ones who were burning with black fire.
Black fire?
Yes. The fire in this world is yellow and bright, but the fire of the afterlife is black. Smoke was rising from them. They were completely black from head to toe, twisting in pain and staring at me. As they were staring at me, there was one of them who was looking at me very intently. I looked at him too, even though I was terrified and scared. My father came and took my hand. He said, "Don't look at them." We went further ahead. They had dug a grave, and together with my father, we stood at the head of the grave. Just as I was about to ask my father, whose grave is this? Where is this place? What happened? I saw that someone from inside the grave, whom we couldn't see, asked in a loud, firm voice 3 times, "Did you used to pray or not?"
The grave you're talking about, is that the same plot of land we went to together? The one you showed me that hadn't been dug yet?
Yes, it hadn't been dug yet. Before, this place was empty. Now, over the past few years, it's filled up. Right here, the grave had been dug. I stood here. I stood exactly right here. My father stood here, but my father didn't react at all. He didn't say anything to us. As I stood here, I myself didn't know what was going to happen. Right here, as soon as my eyes fell on the grave, someone shouted at me in a booming voice, asking, "Did you used to pray or not?" I was startled. I was really scared. They asked me the question 3 or 4 times. I was so scared. Fear had taken over my whole body. I could feel it. I mean, it was like my whole face and all my teeth were clenched together, and I couldn't say a single word, not a thing. I couldn't make any other movement either, because of how terrified I was. The 3rd time he asked, he saw that I just couldn't say anything. My father was standing right next to me, but he didn't support me or help me at all. From inside the grave, I saw a hand come out. He brought out a tablet or a letter from here. He pulled this letter out from my heart. Everything I had done was written in that letter. The prayers that I used to perform, or the good deeds, were in green, and the wrongdoings were in black. The color of the light was black. His voice changed. He said, "Oh, you were praying," and I noticed his harsh tone changed. Then his voice became very calm. He became very kind. He said, "You were praying," and as soon as he said, "You who were praying," it felt like they gave me the whole world. I mean, it was a feeling of peace, a good feeling. Just a moment ago, he was yelling at me. How did his tone suddenly change like that? Then he asked, "What are these 2 units of prayer?" I said, after every prayer, I would perform 2 units of recommended prayer for the martyrs and the deceased imams. He said, "These 2 units of prayer are what protected you from harm and allowed you to return to the world."
Did you know up until that moment that you had died, or did you realize it then? Did you even know you were dead?
Not at all.
And when he told you it became your shield from harm, did you understand what he meant?
Now, if I want to continue this story for you, ever since I was about 14 or 15, I always held on to my beliefs and put a lot of emphasis on prayer and such, because my father always insisted that I make sure to pray, especially the morning prayer. And he said that these prayers were the reason you were protected from harm and able to return home. He said, "Take him back. His mother is waiting for him." So my father and I left, moving away from where our grave was. We saw that some of the other dead knew that we had come here and that we were about to return to that world. They made some requests. There was a man sitting by his own grave. He said, "Mehdi?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Come here." He had just passed away because of an accident. He said, "Mehdi?" I said, "Yes." He said, "I have a request. Please tell my family." I asked, "What is it?" He said, "Tell them not to come and cry. Tell them not to come and cry at my grave on Thursdays. Whenever they want to bring me peace, just recite the Quran." He put his hands on his head. He said, "When they cry, my head hurts." He told me this very seriously. He said 3 times, "Just tell them to come and recite the Quran at my grave. They shouldn't cry at all. Just recite the Quran at my grave."
Dear viewers, I want to take this opportunity to mention that many people with similar experiences, both inside and outside the country, have shared this point. There are reports indicating that those who have passed away and have definitively left their bodies with no return. It has been observed many times that these individuals become upset by the crying, sorrow, distress, and emotional pain of those left behind. In other words, they feel the grief of the survivors, but even more intensely than the survivors themselves. And if we want peace for our departed loved ones, we must maintain our own peace. If we truly love them, then out of that love, and because of our friendship, we should keep ourselves calm for their peace of mind. And well, this is yet another piece of evidence from another person who has had such an experience. They express this point.
After that, my friend gave me this advice, and as we went further, there were a few other friends who also gave some instruction. There were some people who, for example, had debts. They had obligations to others. There were some people like that. Some had problems in this world, and they told me to let their families know about these issues. For example, one of them had a father who had a religious debt to pay. He said, "Go to my family and tell them this debt is on my shoulders, and make sure they take care of it," which I did. Now, after I received those messages, we went the further along. My father told me to stand aside for a moment. I said, okay. Some of them were dressed nicely and looked physically well, while others looked more ordinary. They all lined up for prayer. What was interesting here was that one of my friends, who was about 15 years old, was leading the prayer for them. I talked later with his family. I was wondering what kind of person he was that this happened. Your child there either had the highest status among them or had become the prayer leader there. Then they started talking about his qualities, and even I had to admit that it was really true.
It's interesting that you used "look physically well" twice, didn't you? Do you agree that we should say they were in a better spiritual state or a better physical state? Which one do you think is correct?
Physical.
Physical state.
Yes.
No spirit.
There was nothing called a spirit at all. They didn't give off anything like a spirit. It was all about their beauty and their beautiful bodies, which amazed me, and there was no spirit at all. From my perspective, there was nothing like that at all. It was real, exactly like reality. I would even say it felt more real than here. Look, the carpet under our feet was just like ocean waves. It was like the waves of the sea, shining, and it was a really fascinating scene for me. There were some people wearing green clothes, and they had such a beautiful, heartfelt conversation with God that I was just standing aside, watching them.
About the beauties of that place you mentioned, I've heard two things from you. One was the description of the appearance of those good, deceased individuals.
Yes.
And the other was the carpet on which they all prayed together. Was there anything else? You said the beauties of that place were so many. What was it?
What really amazed me, one thing I mentioned was the appearance or physical state of those who had passed away. And no matter how much I talk about them, it's never enough. And another thing that was really strange was their carpets. They shimmered like ocean waves, with colorful patterns, so beautiful that their shine would truly amaze you. Really.
So it wasn't just an ordinary carpet.
No, not at all.
Waves moving.
It moved in waves, and while it was moving, those standing on the carpet didn't move at all. In the year 2000, my father was murdered in the same orchard where we worked, for certain reasons. And there was always this question in my mind: how did this happen to my father? Because there was no evidence. I asked my father. I said, "Father, how did this happen to you? What was the story behind it?" At that very moment, right then and there, I saw my father's body lying there, and my father himself was standing next to me. Suddenly, We were both present there, and all the scenes of what had happened became clear to me. What happened, how it happened, it became clear.
How did it become clear?
My father himself was standing next to me, showing me that this is how it happened here. That's where that event happened. I saw the scene. He showed me everything, even the body that was lying on the ground. And I was standing right there next to my father, next to that beautiful body he had.
You stood by your father, who had passed away and was talking to you.
Yes,
And you were present and standing at the place where the murder was happening. So there was another father there as well.
yes, the body of my father.
Was he being murdered, or had he already been murdered?
He had already been murdered.
You see the scene before the murder too?
Yes, all the scenes.
Two fathers, one there, one here.
And we forgave the person who murdered our father. We forgave, and now in the village, we were really good friends. We're really kind to each other. Our family and the family of the killer, we became friends to the point that we even became relatives. I mean, someone from his relatives. His son married someone from our family. And because of this, a lot of people ask, why are you all so kind to each other? Is it possible? I say, why not? The heart is a place for God. There's no room for hatred or resentment. Something happened in the past. But there's no need for us to keep carrying this grudge with us for as long as we live. If you keep holding on to a grudge, it only hurts you. God is my witness. The whole village says, how is it that you're all so kind to each other? You get along so well with each other. We say, it's nothing, just for God's sake. Only for God. The heart should be a place for God, not a place for grudges, not for jealousy, not for resentment, whatever God wills. Then, after that, we move forward. It was around 2004 or 2005, and the drought was making things tough. Most of our orchards are rain-fed. The fig orchards are rain-fed. I told my father that we really wish we could have a well here to reach water. These years, the drought has been tough, and no matter how many engineers or experts we brought, there was just no water here.
How old are the fig orchard?
The fig trees are about 100 years old.
Who planted them?
My grandfather. My father pointed to a spot and said, if you dig a well here and right there, suddenly there was this greenish water gushing out of the ground. It came out like that. He said, God willing, this part will give you water.
Your father showed you this place?
Yes, and we did as he said. Thank God, we finally reached water.
So you hit water where your father pointed?
Yes.
Engineers suggest other places?
Yes, the engineer showed us some few other spots further away than this location. 150 meters down, but no water.
How many trees are there in the whole orchard?
Around 1,300. We brought in a few other experts and showed them the location, and they confirmed it had water. He had searched all this land several times without success, but then I said, now come with me and mark this area. Because I wanted to be completely sure, he said this area has water, and we started digging. Around 40 meters down, thank God, we found good water. In an area where no one really had any hope of finding water. We went over all the land about 6 or 7 times, and at one spot, they marked a place for us. We dug a well there, but again, we didn't get any water.
They had instruments.
Yes.
The engineers in 6 attempts with the equipment couldn't find water.
Nothing.
But a spirit gave you the address, and you dug right there and got water.
That's right. I mean, I honestly see it as a miracle. I see all of this as a kind of miracle. The well was placed at the very spot in the garden where we had previously dedicated the trees of that area to those in need. From there, we went back to the cemetery. As soon as we got there, right at the cemetery, more questions came to my mind, and I asked my father about them. One of the things that really made us sad was that my niece, at the age of 3 or 4, had developed a severe speech impediment. When he tried to talk, she couldn't form words or sentences properly with her mouth or tongue.
A severe speech impediment, or
Very severe. It was so severe that the whole family was constantly thinking about him. He's really a young man now. His name is Muhammad. When I asked my father about him, my father immediately showed me the same Muhammad to me.
what question did you ask? What was your question?
Look, at that time, Muhammad was 4 years old.
Yes.
I asked my father a question. I said, "Father, the family is really upset about Muhammad because of this illness or this speech impediment that keeps him from speaking properly." As soon as I said that, my father pointed out Muhammad to me. At the age of 7, his exact appearance at 7 years old, with a backpack on his shoulders, he was about to go to school. He even appeared right in front of me. I swear to God, he appeared right in front of me with his backpack, and he was speaking easily. He was talking. Thank God, when he went to school at age 7, that speech impediment was lifted from him, and he could speak easily without any problem. He got much better, and now he's a grown man.
Mr. Muhammad, whom we talked about. We tried really hard to meet with him and have a conversation, but he was too shy. He's too shy to do an interview. He gets embarrassed but the story that was told was confirmed by others from the village, and they told us that he had a very severe stutter until the age of 4 and was cured at age 7, and I can personally attest to that.
We stop here. My eyes fell on his hill. I said, "Dad, what is this?" There was a lot of thick smoke rising from it, and it was clear that whatever was behind it wasn't something pleasant. He said that there were people there who, when autumn came, would burn the bees with fire, bees that had spent the whole season gathering food for themselves, and then they would take the honey and bring it home for themselves. Then he said, these are the people who destroyed the bees' homes, and now they are being punished because of the harm and suffering they caused the bees. That was something really surprising to me.
That harming animals brings about consequences. The person who harms them isn't just limited to bees, and there are many stories and sayings about this. And there is no one who harms an animal who won't, in the next life, face the same animal. And we will have to answer for it. What I found interesting was that the mountain where they saw these people being punished is the same mountain those people used to go to. And it's the same mountain where they set the bees' nests on fire. And interestingly, in that same place, those same mountains were seen under fire according to his report. And those same people suffered the same punishment on those very mountains.
After seeing this heartbreaking and tormenting scene, I started to feel like I should slowly say goodbye to them, or it was as if I realized I had to return to this world sooner. And I started to feel homesick. I'm being honest, because I was coming from a very special world, a world full of beauty. Its beauty was truly stunning. Really. I mean, its beauty is indescribable. When you looked at those beings and saw their physical forms, you would feel a sense of joy, a really good feeling. I felt at peace. Honestly, I enjoyed seeing them so much that you just didn't want to come back.
Is there anything here in this world that gives you the same sense of peace and happiness? To that extent?
No, there isn't. I really didn't want to come back at all. It was so enjoyable and so calming for the soul and mind there that you just wouldn't want to return to this world.
When you saw the scene of your father's murder, did you recognize the killer?
Yes.
So how did this story end? When you came back from that world?
After that, the killer himself came to our house and said that he was overtaken by anger. In a moment of anger, I did something like this, and he was very upset about it and felt remorse. He personally came to our house and said, "I beg you to forgive me," and we forgave him. We said, no matter what we do, our father won't come back to life. He won't come back to this world again. And now, because of that forgiveness, we are actually friends with his family. God himself says in the Quran that you have the right to retribution, but if you forgive, your reward is with God. And nothing else could have made us do this. First, it was God's will, and second, it was God's words that led us to forgive him. This story, this event that happened to me, brought a lot of goodness and blessings for myself and those around me. We made some really good friends.
If you wanted to wrap up what you gained from that experience in a few short sentences, as something to leave behind for your family, your grandchildren, your future generations. Say, these are the things I witnessed. This is the advice I have for you. What would you say?
No matter how the world is, it will pass. The afterlife is eternal. This world is not eternal. Even for the prophet Solomon, this world passed. For the oppressors, it passed. For the pharaohs, it passed. It passed for everyone, and it will pass for us too. Always be sure that God is holding our hand. He will never let go and never leave us to ourselves. God willing.
God willing.